Hello there, you're very welcome to my channel. Roisin Curie here with another sketching video. Today I'm going to show you my most recent sketchbook, which is March to May. It's not as, I'm not as happy with it as I have been with previous sketchbooks in the past, but hopefully it gets a little bit better as you go through it. I hope you enjoy all my little bits and pieces of my life over the last couple of months, taking us from the spring and the really kind of inclement weather all the way to the glorious last few weeks which we've had in May. Okay, on with the show, and I will check in with you in a little while. Enjoy the video. So here we are, my little Hanamola A6 100% cotton 250 gram book. Now I didn't have anything in the first two pages, so I did put this in after I filled up the rest of the book. Now I thought you might like to see a little chart with my colours on it, so let me read them out for you. On the left hand column we've got shadow grey, phthalo green blue shade, sap green, Aquarius green, yellow ochre, burnt sienna and cypress burnt umber. Down the centre we have lemon yellow, Naples yellow light, quinacridone magenta, mineral violet, indigo and nickel azo yellow. And on the right hand column we have perylene green, Aquarius red, Aquarius orange, cherry quinacridone red, ultramarine intense, phthalo blue green shade and Payne's grey, and they're all by Roman Schmal. Then on the top left you have a Sailor 55 degree Fude pen, and I decided to show you my De Atramentis document ink with brown, which is about all I use. I haven't drawn in the white gel pen by Sakura, and I haven't drawn in the two little plastic type water brushes by Sakura as well, because I use different brushes. Anyway, on with the show. Here we have my little dog Reuben, with whom some of you are so familiar, and I thought he looked delightful in the sun that morning, and I kind of took some experiments. I kind of took some chances with the light, the behaviour of the light, but I think it came out really well. In the early part of the spring, I did attempt to paint tulips many times because they were absolutely gorgeous and they matched the colour of my tablecloth, but unfortunately I did not capture the look at all. I think I captured it in one of my sketchbooks, which I'll have to show you another time. Well, actually, I'm too proud to not show you now. So here's the one that I did like. It's in another of my little books. Now, this page isn't very exciting, but at least it shows you the colours swatched out on the left. And then it shows the 5 colours that I used to mix any skin tone you could possibly dream of. So those 5 colours are yellow ochre, burnt sienna, burnt umber, cherry quinacridone red and Payne's grey. And you can get anything from light to dark with those 5. Now, throughout a lot of March, I went through a phase of doing this kind of Irish script, the Cló Gaelach. My friend Lorraine bought me a cool book and herself, and we decided we'd learn it together on how to make this script, and it's really cool. I should give you a little close-up of this. Don't mind what I've written, it's pure nonsense, but it's great fun to do, and you can do this kind of tapestry effect, which is really lovely. Okay, on to the next page. Oh, but look, before I go on to the next page, I can't just let that big seal just sit there and turn the pages without explaining what's going on. Well, he is inspired by a real live person that I met down on Island Eddy. But the less I say about that, the better for now. So let's get back to the show. Now, that day I went down to Island Eddy with my husband, Marcel, and my son, Paddy. And I had the idea that I would sketch on the shore. It was a really beautiful day. The sun was out and the tide was so low that you could walk from the mainland out to Island Eddy. Now, I did warn Marcel and Paddy that the tide came back quite suddenly and without much of a warning, and to watch out for people who would be heading back to the mainland as their cue for it being time to turn around. But they didn't. They didn't turn around. They just disappeared onto the island. And I was on the strip, the little spit of sand between the mainland and the island. It was glorious just sitting there with water all around me on the sand with razor clams spitting and I don't know what else. Anyway, eventually I rang Paddy because he was nowhere to be seen. Eventually, he picked up the phone and he was out of breath because he was running. And he told his dad that he wouldn't leave him. He wouldn't leave him. They'd stick together, come what may. And I was sitting on the mainland watching all this play out. And suddenly I saw Paddy take off in front of his dad through the shallows, which was up to his ankles by then. And then I saw poor Marcel in the distance whip off the trousers and wade across just in his boxers. And I'm sorry, but I laughed and laughed and laughed. So the moral of the story is, pay attention to the tide. Okay, this next little drawing is from a hospital in Dublin. I was waiting for one of my kids. She was having a procedure and I just had to wait. So I went off and I sat down in the café and I started drawing this one here. I really liked just picking out the three colours, well, two colours really, the red and the blue, the indigo, the red and the indigo. Now, the lady on the far left, she was listening to a comedy of some sort, but she was listening loudly without earphones or headphones. So I decided to avenge myself, to get my revenge, to wreak vengeance. And so I drew her most unflatteringly. And that's what I do. So if ever you're out in public and you haven't got your earphones in, expect to be drawn unflatteringly. You never know where I might be. Now, this one I'm a little bit embarrassed about. I was happily drawing the seafront in Bray, near my parents' house. And then I drew this couple, this family, on the right-hand side, lying on the beach. And I got it so badly wrong in terms of positioning that they're actually floating. They're hovering above the stony beach in midair. I felt like an awful idiot for getting that so badly wrong. And what about this one? Well, we were in Dublin, myself and my family, to celebrate the birthday of our eldest. Belated birthday celebration. And the sun was streaming in that afternoon in the pub. And it was shining through the beers that this couple were drinking. And they looked so lovely. The only problem was I left a lovely line of shimmering light around the couple's faces, you know, like a kind of a halo. But then I figured I would give it a bit of a glow of yellow. And I did that later on, sitting on the sofa in the evening in front of the TV. And I used such a vivid, bright yellow. And I completely destroyed the effect of the light shining through and hitting them. So there you go. The moral of the story there is, don't try and finish off painting sitting on the sofa in the dark. Well, this next one is okay. The only thing that redeems it is the chap on the front right with the lovely Irish pink skin and the lovely tracksuit top. Other than that, don't think it went very well, which is a pity. In this one, we have some figures of animals from around the area where I live. And you can see that I'm continuing my complete obsession with the Irish script, the Cloghailach. We had a little bit of a storm and we lost some apple blossom from the trees in our orchard. Well, actually, there was only one small bit of apple blossom that came down. I kind of helped it along with the other two bits. I figured I could afford to lose a couple of, future apples. And we really enjoyed doing that in class. The pink circle was made by putting pink paint on the base of a ceramic bowl and then stamping it down. And then I kind of used, I suppose, a dip pen and some ink to do the lettering. It was fun. Okay, so the next sketch is a kind of a drawing out of my head. It's a little recipe for chia seed pudding using grated carrot and orange and oat milk and cottage cheese. And I can't remember what the bits at the top are. It might be chopped walnuts. Yeah, chopped walnuts. So one of the podcasters I listened to said that his cholesterol level plummeted in the space of, I don't know how long, but not long. And he said the only change he made to his diet was having a chia seed pudding every day. And I come from a long line of people who have heart attacks young and crazy high cholesterol. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm not sure the sugar is very good for me. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Now this Easter one, it's okay. Just a few little bits of tulips and a cake that my lovely daughter made. And it just, couldn't go unmarked. It was too lovely. Here's another sketch that's no great shakes. I did it with my husband on our first day in Greece when I was there teaching at the end of April. And it's in a little town called Kamina Vorla. Absolutely glorious little spot. Great food. Now this next one was a little demo I did for my students when we were in Greece, where I was explaining the idea of values, where you start from 0, which is not touching the page at all with any colour at all the way up through different dilutions to the darkest paint you can possibly make. And it's just a really good way to get used to handling light. I must do a class on it actually one of these days. You might recognise this double sheet from one of my earlier videos that I did a while ago, where I did some shells on a very lovely beach and Ruben barked at rocks. Now, I do love taking my sketch pocket on to the train. Well, I take it everywhere. But I love sketching people on the train. And as you can see, their eyes are all downcast, every single one of them. So they're not noticing me with my sneaky little pen and paints out, my little sketchbook. Now, this next one here was, I suppose, a result of going down to the beach with little Reuben. I collected some crab shells and some shells, and I brought them back to the studio and I sketched them, which is something I really love to do. And in this one, I have a sketch on a really hot day down at the quay in Killenarin, which isn't too far from where I live. And I really enjoyed doing that sketch, and I went for a swim actually when I arrived. There was only a little bit of tide, but it was up to, I suppose, my waist. Where the village swims down there, it's like a huge swimming pool in some ways. It's a bit like a swimming pool that has been emptied and then filled twice a day, because at low tide you've got virtually no water at all, and at high tide it's a big deep pool, and I love it. Now, if you are a fan and a subscriber, then you will recognise this little tower from my last YouTube video, which is the tower at Turbally, which is where the poet William Butler Yeats had a home during the 1920s, and he wrote loads of poetry here. Now, I wrote one of the poems that he has up on a plaque beside the entrance, and then I ran out of space. So right here and right now, I'm just going to write, well, it's the last word of that line. It's not the last word altogether. It's not the last line, but I'll read that out to you as well. So the poem reads, I, the poet William Yeats, with old mill boards and sea green slates, and smithy work from the Gort Forge, restored this tower for my wife George, and may these characters remain when all is ruin once again. So that's what I wrote, and I made such a hames of it, I had to stick a piece of paper on top and then try again a bit more neatly. But I still didn't do a very good job because I got the size too big, and that's just the way things go. Okay, on to the next one. This is just a quick sketch of a couple having a sandwich and a cup of coffee in, I think it was Insomnia in Dunleary. But I think I'm going to have a go at the white space above it, and I'm going to do some more funky lettering Irish style because I'm obsessed. More seashells, another blank space that isn't safe from my pen and my cloghoilach. Look, here I go again. These were more train sketches. I really like this one actually. On the left, I have a man on his laptop, and the man opposite him is sort of gazing dreamily out of the window, and you can see the rain splatters on the window pane. And then at the bottom, it just says, on the train to Dublin, 27th of May. And then on the right, we have another passenger having a snooze, and it says, just below him, the menu for today in Brambles, which is kind of weird, funny Irish. And finally at the bottom, I have a little sketch of the brekkie that I had in Brambles restaurant, which was delicious. And I'd sketched from a photo, which I don't normally do, but I don't let my food get cold. So that's why I did that. This is a sketch of some wildflowers from my lawn outside my studio, and I really enjoyed doing that. And you can see I did the same thing with the stamp at the bottom of the page, the Wildflower Appreciation Society, with a bit of a kind of a vintage dandelion drawing. This is Galway Cathedral. I sat in the car park with my son, Paddy, side by side, and we were killing a few minutes before we went to see a really amazing comic called Simon Hennessy. Sorry, this guy is a total genius. I hope that he goes far and high and wide because he's absolutely brilliant. And me and Paddy really, really enjoyed, Paddy and I really, really enjoyed his show, despite the tech issues. But like, so what? He's a pro. He made it work. It was hilarious. A week ago, I was teaching as part of the Kinvara Plein Air Festival, which takes place every year in the village of Kinvara, very close to where I live. And I was lucky enough to take some people to Tour Ballylee, the place I mentioned where William Butler Yeats lived in the 1920s. And my goodness, that place is divine. And those two little sketches that you see there, they are both little demos that I was showing to the students. One was of the river moving gently down the streams down river past the tower itself. And then the other one is part of the mill, the restored mill, one of the old cottages there. Fabulous place. If you ever get a chance, go. Well, we're in International Nature Journaling Week 2025. So I found this crab when I was out walking with Paddy the other morning, and I brought it home. It was completely intact. In fact, I'd say it was only dead about an hour when I found it. And I sketched it, and I sketched the seaweed that I found on the beach as well. And I wrote a little poem. And I wanted to read it to Paddy, but he didn't want to hear it. So I am not going to read it out loud to save everybody's ears, because you know the way in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there's only one thing worse than Vogue on poetry. And I can't remember what that thing is that's worse than Vogue on poetry. But it might possibly be Roisin's poetry. So I'm just going to keep stum with that bit of poetry. I mean, you can freeze frame it if you want and look at it. I don't mind. Well, I had a little loose sketch done in Lee, which isn't very good, but I liked it. So I stuck it in on the very last page. And then on the other side of it, I sketched Marcel. I really love sitting in the back of the car and drawing the driver. Here's the little sketch that I stuck in crooked, unfortunately, so you can see how you kind of have to look at it. It's a little bit off horizontal, but I will go back and finish it. And there you go. There's Marcel again. And that's it. That's the book. I hope you've enjoyed today's little flick through. March to May 2025. Well, here we are with my reluctant, as usual, little, I suppose, sidekick. He looks a bit strange. He tired himself out from barking at rocks today while I was on the phone for about an hour to my sister. And Reuben gets very excited about rocks on the lawn and moss on the lawn, indeed, and barks very, very annoyingly whenever I'm on the phone. So yeah, you wouldn't know it to look at him now, but that's the way it is. He has actually got a guest at the moment, and her name is Babette. So she is being looked after here in Galway for the week while my mum is having a little break in Spain. Gosh, is Reuben that tired? Well, I suppose it's late in the afternoon. So yeah, that's it. And I'm not going to lift her up because she's much larger than Reuben, and I don't think she'd take too kindly to being sat on my lap. Anyway, I will leave it at that for now, and I will thank you for your kind attendance and viewing, and I will see you next time. Happy sketching!